Okay, if you have finished your background completely and it's all dry because you finished it up yesterday or even last week, then you can flip it over and carefully just trim up those edges by using the edge of that piece of paper as your guide. You don't want to cut the background paper because you want it to just stay on that square format. But you can just kind of use it as a guide to cut off all the stuff that's hanging off on the edges. Okay, so you can see that'll be nice and clean around there. Now, if you have to work on the background again today, then do not cut the edges because otherwise you'll just get glue all over your scissors. And we're going to start on the butterfly. Next step is going to be collaging the butterfly. And you can see here's some different shapes, and here's also some different shapes of butterflies. So I'm going to send you a couple of different shapes, and you choose whatever you want to. Remember, butterflies are all different. They all have different shaped wings, and they have different shaped designs. They're almost like fingerprints. Each one's unique. So if yours doesn't match this exactly, then you're going to be just fine. Don't worry about it. The hardest part when drawing a butterfly is making it symmetrical. One side always ends up bigger than the other side, or lopsided, or whatever. So here's my little trick. Take your paper and just fold it right in half, and then draw the body down the center. You know, a butterfly is an insect, so it has 3 body parts, but if you want to just make it 1, that's fine. Like we did on the clay ones, that was just 1 coil for the body. And then draw it out on one side. However you want it, it doesn't matter. And then fold it back up. There you go. And cut it out. This way, all you have to do is trace onto your background, and it will be perfectly symmetrical because you're cutting through both sheets of paper. So let me do that for you. So there you go. There's my butterfly. Be super careful cutting here and here where it's so thin. You don't want his head to fall off. And then, of course, when you unfold it, it will be perfectly symmetrical. People will think that you're just brilliant. It'll be our little secret. We're going to let them think that. And then all you have to do is place this on top of your collage and trace it. You can trace it diagonally. You just kind of want it to fit on there however it works out. And you're going to trace it on there, and then we'll start to collage the butterfly on top of the background. Okay, I have traced around my pattern with a pencil, and I can pull this away, and hopefully you can see where my pencil lines are moving. All right, so my next step is to figure out some colors. And remember, contrast is always a good thing. So I have a neutral background, so I could use a contrast between warm and cool colors on my butterfly. If you have a cool background, you can always use neutrals and warm colors, etc. You're just going to want to keep some kind of contrast between your foreground and your background. And then you're going to do the entire butterfly over the background, and then we're going to layer on those little details. So you'll notice when I drew my butterfly, I didn't draw any details in there. I just got that outline because right now I'm just going to work on that outline of the butterfly. So I have to select some colors there. So I've decided that I'm going to do my background black. So I'm going to cut away the parts that I don't need. I could use that maybe for the patterns later on, or maybe somebody else can use that brown, but I'll just cut the black parts out of there. Because it's a collage, so I'm just going to be working all those pieces on top of each other. Whatever color you decide for your background. And now the hard part is going to be getting it to match around there. And this is where we're going to cut instead of tear. All right, so we tore the background, which will also give us some contrast. And so now we're going to cut a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of lay this on there. I can even draw onto the paper where that line is. And then I can cut it. And you'll use that glue and water mixture. This part is going to be a lot more precise than the background was. The background was pretty simple and haphazard. So I got my glue and water, and I'll put that on there. There we go, right along that line. And then I'll just keep working that, overlapping all these different blacks until I fill up the whole entire background for my butterfly. And then of course, let's put a little bit on top just to make sure everything lays flat. All right, this will take you a while because it's a little bit more time consuming when you want to be as precise as you can. Okay, so you can see how I spent my time really trying to get that outline around the edges. And now all I have to do is just fill in the middle. That's going to be the easy part. This is the hard part. And let me show you something else. If you look a little bit closer, you can see how this did not line up right. So you're going to have some of these places where you just didn't cut it that well. And so you're going to take these little slivers and just kind of glue them in there to fill up that little gap right there. So it'll be a nice smooth edge around there. All right. So you really want that outline to be smooth because this was torn, this is cut, and it's going to be that contrast again between the rough and the smooth.